Is wholesaling houses illegal? The answer? No. But are there things that individuals do that they end up getting in trouble because they end up doing it wrong? Yes. And in this video, you're gonna find out what those are. All right, first and foremost, let's talk about wholesaling. What is it? And the easiest way to do it is let's just map it out on the board so you guys can understand and have a crystal clear of what we're talking about when we're talking about wholesaling real estate. First and foremost, really it's just 3 steps, and I'm gonna put them up here on the board. The first step is you're either going to find a distressed property or a distressed homeowner. And ultimately what you're gonna do is meet with this individual and see if you can solve their problems. Maybe one of them is they're behind on their mortgage, or they're behind on their taxes, or they need to move in 7 days because they just got a new job and it's out of state. And in doing so, in solving their problems, you're able to, step number 2, put the home under contract. This is our contract at a discount. Maybe this home is worth $200,000 when it's all fixed up, but maybe in its current condition, it's not fixed up, so it's not worth that. But because you're solving their problems, you're able to put the home under contract at $100,000. Now from there, we go to the third step. You're going to sell your contract to a pool of cash buyers. Now these are just heads. I'm not gonna draw all the bodies. But ultimately you have cash buyers that you are going to sell or show your deal, say, hey guys, I have a contract that allows you to purchase this home at 123 Main Street. And one of these cash buyers, maybe it's this guy, says, hey, I want it. And you're going to sell that contract that allows them to close $115,000. Forget the scribble there, okay guys? $115,000. So you're gonna sell the contract to the cash buyer for $115,000. The cash buyer says, great, I want it. Cash buyer brings money to the title company. He brings $115,000. $100K goes to the seller, and then $15K goes to me, the wholesaler. That's wholesaling in a nutshell. All right, so this question we have when it comes to wholesaling. What is it that we keep hearing that people's like, oh man, is wholesaling illegal? Man, it's illegal. I'm gonna break it down because there's really 3 things you need to know, or 3 strategies that people are using that can get you in trouble. And I'm gonna break those down for you right now. The first one, guys, that we're gonna talk about. For many wholesalers, this is one that most of us, in fact, even me, I'm not a licensed real estate agent. And so a lot of people think, oh, because you're not a licensed real estate agent, you can't be involved, or you can't really acquire homes, purchase homes, sell homes. That is false. You can. But there is this part where if you act like a real estate agent, but indeed you're not, and you're just a wholesaler, just an investor, that's where most people go wrong. So going back to this whole entire point when it comes to marketing the contract, we talked about once you get a home under contract at a discount, you then from there can take it and sell the contract. You're assigning your rights. So they're now filling in lieu of you to close on the property. So it's no longer you closing on the property. You don't have to come up with the money. The cash buyer is. But where most people go wrong is they're not a real estate agent. And instead of marketing the contract that is an assignable agreement, one that you can say, hey, this is a piece of paper here, a contract. Hey, I'm not selling a home. I'm just selling my rights to this contract that allows you, the cash buyer, to close on this home at 123 Main Street. And instead, where they're getting in trouble is they're marketing the home to the cash buyer. They're saying, hey, do you want this home at 123 Main Street? And guess what? Now they're acting as a realtor because they don't have the interest in it. They're not on title. And now they're just selling it like a traditional realtor would do for a 3% commission. The second strategy people are using that get them in trouble, and again, it goes back to acting like a real estate agent, just instead of an investor. So going back to this whole entire thing, we talked about the first one. The second one is instead of having an inspection period, they call it a showing. Now, realtors, that's what they call it. So if they're listing a home and they want people to come out and see it, all the retail buyers to come out and see it, they call that a showing. You do not want to be tied to, if you're not a realtor, of having a showing. That means you are trying to show a home like a realtor, but not being licensed to do so. So the verbiage we use is the inspection. There are gonna be cash buyers that want your deal, right? They want the contract that allows them to close on the home, but then they just wanna inspect the property. They wanna make sure that they're getting what they're getting. And in the contract, it'll outline that they're buying it as is, they're buying it with cash, they gotta close by a certain date, but again, they just wanna make sure that there's no foundation issues or something major going on. So instead of hosting a showing, we're not showing homes. We're just having an inspection period. And you'll set that up right with the homeowner so that these cash buyers will come in, take a look at the property just to make a final decision whether they want the contract that allows them to purchase the home or not. All right, guys, before we move on to the third strategy where it's getting people in trouble in wholesaling, if you know beginners that are wanting to get into wholesaling, but you're like, I wanna make sure they do it right, be sure to hit that share button down below and share this information with them so they can get out there, do it correctly, and ultimately thank you for sending them this video. All right, guys, the third one is this strategy of an assignment versus what is called a double close. Now, there are gonna be some states, for example, in Utah and in Texas, the two states that I happen to wholesale in, you can do an assignment, meaning you put a home under contract, and then you just assign your rights to a cash buyer and the cash buyer is gonna close on the property. You can do that. In other states, they do what's called a double close. They don't allow you to assign agreements. So if you're in one of those states, you're gonna wanna do either some Google research, as well as I would talk to a real estate attorney because Google is not always right. Talk to a good real estate attorney and ask them, if you get into wholesaling, can I simply assign the contract? Or do I have to do a double close? If you have to do a double close, don't worry. You still don't have to have the money, but yes, you are gonna close on the property, but you also have the end buyer already selected with non-refundable earnest money. So if I were gonna do a double close and I was gonna close on a property, I would make sure I have my end buyer in place, although I am gonna have to close on this property for 100 grand and then simultaneously close it right after that to a cash buyer for 115,000. These funds, you might be thinking, well, where am I gonna get this $100,000? If you just Google hard cash or transactional funding in your state, you'll find out there's companies all over the place that will lend out this money for a cost. Make sure that the numbers make sense before you sign anything. But at the end of the day, guys, it's just a simple transaction where you're gonna go to your closing attorney or your title company, close on it first, and then literally in the same setting, sell it off to your cash buyer. So it's literally like a 24-hour borrow on these funds. And again, as long as you have a heartbeat and as long as you can breathe, you can qualify for any one of these loans. So don't let the double close stop you from wholesaling. It's very, very easy, but do make sure you do it right. Which one is your state making you do? Can you do the assignment? Great. If so, it's gonna be like even easier. If it's a double close, don't stress it. There's people that'll lend to you. Okay, guys, down below in the description, I've left a link that will lead you to a 30-day close your first wholesale deal challenge. And really in this whole entire point, this 30-day challenge, I do them every single month. And it's more of like this hands-on, walk you through it step by step so you can wholesale your first deal. All you gotta do is click on that link in the description and I'll see you in the challenge.